Global happenings today. We communicate, we analyze global news. Stay tuned.
Hello, great people. Welcome back to Global Happenings. Today, we are so excited to have you again. Finally, Inec inside sources have accepted that Inec has been involved in the sabotaging process during the just concluded election. Don't forget that this election have been tagged by most politicians and most Nigerians as the worst in the history of Nigeria, considering the fact that so much money has gone in and also the level of assurance they gave to Nigerians. Now, you're going to hear how INEC were involved in this whole thing. Even Mahmood has nothing to say to stop this kind of allegation, I must say. Now, let's look at the news in detail. According to the news, it is no longer news that controversies and disputations are dogging the outcome of the 2023 general election. More than 500 cases at various election petitions tribunal attest to that fact. Issues from Adamawa State, where the resident electoral commissioner Reg Mr. Hudu Yanusa Ari usurped the power of the chief returning officer Mele Lamido and unilaterally announced the All Progressive Congress APC governorship candidate Senator Aishatu Dahiru as the winner when collation has not been concluded are still raising dust in the polity. Although the national headquarters of the Independent National Electoral Commission INEC acted swiftly by annulling Arik's action, suspending him, writing the presidency to get him sacked, and getting Mele Lamido to conclude the coalition and announce Governor Ahmadu Fintiri, the People Democratic Party candidate, as winner. The matter has raised debate on how to save Nigeria's democracy process. INEC National Chairman Professor Yakubu Mahmood and the Commission have come under hammer for the way the elections pan in spite of repeated assurance of credible polls with the introduction of bimodal voters accreditation system BVAS, e-transmission of vote of result to the INEC result viewing, IREF portal real time from the polling booth. Defending Yakubu on the flaws in the poll, an inside source in INEC agreed that there were glitches in the electronic transmission of presidential election results. He blamed rakes, politicians, and some stakeholders for most of the drawbacks, insisting that Yakubu was determined to use technology to drive credible polls via BVAs and IREV. The source said some politicians and parties worked extra hard in concert with some rakes to undermine the process. According to the inside source, and I quote, he said, "We saw all the attempts some politicians, even parties, made to abort the use of technology for the polls. Some people even went to court about 4 times, and there were also efforts to remove Yakubu on these premises, but they stood his ground. But he stood his ground," the INEC source had said, adding that adding that was vindicated as post-election investigation shows that Beaver's performance at the poll was over 88% successful. Continuing, he disclosed how the activities of some rake impacted negatively on the outcome of the poll. According to him, some rakes were clearly partisan. For example, 19 rakes were appointed close to the polls, and many of them were clearly partisan, and to make matters worse, some were deployed to states where they had sympathy for the ruling party. Should we also blame INEC or the chairman for this? In response to the partisan conduct of some rakes, the source said the INEC had carried out disciplinary measures against erring staff to the extent of recommending to Mr. President Muhammadu Buhari the sacking of rakes who have been found wanting in their conduct in the election. INEC had since resolved to write the Inspector General of Police Usman Baba to probe and prosecute the resident electoral commissioner rake in Adamawa State, Hudu Ari. Indeed, the Adamawa saga was so bad that security agencies started questioning their men on election duty in the state. The Inspector General of Police Usman Baba on Tuesday ordered the immediate replacement of the Commissioner of Police on election duty in Adamawa, Muhammad Bade, with his counterpart in Gombe State, CP Etam Ekwa. As part of the moves to investigate the Adamawa election saga, NSCDC Commander General Mr. Ahmed Abubakar Audu summoned its Adamawa State Commandant Muhammad Bello to the COP headquarters in Abuja to explain his role in the Adamawa election. The Adamawa Police Commissioner, NSCDC Commandant and Director of the Department of State Services (DSS) were with Ari when he declared Senator Aisha Dahiru as governor-elect. Speaking on the issue, the acting National Publicity Secretary of the Labour Party, Pastor Obiora Ifor, said, "For as long as the president has the responsibility of appointing resident electoral commissioner, the best the INEC can do is to recommend sanctions for airing regs." The Labour Party spokesperson said, "Since the president, based on the Act of the National Assembly, remains the appointing and confirming authority for regs, the best INEC can do with respect to serious disciplinary action is to make recommendation." How Buhari's Senate had cleared partisan raid in August 2022, a coalition of 8 civil society organizations (CSO) kicked against President Muhammadu Buhari had appointed some APC members as resident electoral commissioners and asked the Senate to reject the nominee. The civil societies called on the Senate to reject the nominee, who included 4 alleged members of the APC, saying the nomination violated the provision of the 1999 Constitution as amended and negated the criteria and procedure prescribed to protect the neutrality, objectivity, and non-partisanship of INEC. The CSO, in a statement by Yaga African International Press Center for Media and Society, the Albino Foundation, Elect Her, Nigerian Women Trust Fund, Partners for Electoral Reform, Inclusive Friend Association, and the Kuka Center claimed that 14 of the 19 nominees from Sokoto, Enugu, Imo, and Ebonyi, among others, were either APC loyalists or were indicted for the corruption in the past, which they said breached the Constitution on appointment of INEC resident electoral commissioner. The statement said, to mention a few, Professor Muhammad Lawal Bashir from Sokoto was a governorship aspirant under the All Progressive Congress in the 2015 election cycle. Mrs. Sylvia Uchenna Agu, the nominee for Enugu State, is believed to be the younger sister of the APC Deputy National Chairman Southeast. The nominee for Imo State, Mrs. Pauline Onyeka Ugochi, a former head of ICT at INEC in Imo State, gained notoriety for connivance with politicians to undermine election. Mrs. Queen Elizabeth Agu, a former accountant general of Ebonyi, was suspended allegedly on the grounds of incompetence and corruption in 2016. We contend that the appointment of these individuals as reg will significantly undermine the neutrality and impartiality of the Independent National Electoral Commission, and it will increase mistrust in INEC and Nigeria electoral process. By the combined effort of Section 156, subsection 1A, and Third Schedule, Part 1, Item 5, Paragraph 14(1), subsection 1, these individuals are constitutionally prohibited from any appointment as member of REC. It will be against the sacred spirit of the Constitution to accept their nomination, give their antecedent and close affinity with political parties. It is improbable that they will remain neutral and objective if successfully screened as INEC resident electoral commissioner, they stated. Wow, so many things have happened pointing to the direction that this election was not okay. Now, first of all, I would say that the issue of recommending some INEC, some resident electoral commissioner to be punished by Buhari will not solve the problem, because Nigeria is in for another 4 years under a government whose election was a fraud. So, which therefore means that what we are going to envisage is likely a fraudulent government. So you saying select, let them be punished by the president because he was the one that authorized their nomination and blah 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 blah, authorized the appointment and all of that. For me, it doesn't hold any water. The best that can be done based on the level of rigging that took place and the level of involvement of INEC staff in the just concluded election, this election should be cancelled. And as election is being cancelled speedily within 1 month, another process should be put in place, and elections should be done mostly in those areas where we saw involvement of INEC or poor delivery of election process. Those areas, because it's not in all areas, we know that there are some places that were free of any form of election fraud. Those areas we can still keep them, but those areas that we know there was election fraud, no need of recommending anybody for appointment by the president, because already we've heard this kind of stories for so long. The ideal thing should be done: cancel the election and let's roll in again for another period of supplementary election. And when that is done, it should be properly managed and the right thing should be done. I think the only person that we have heard the president really talk about discipline in this whole process had been the Adamawa State guy, who is at large right now, because even the military say they can't even lay their hands on him. What we saw on internet some few days ago was that the guy has scamper, kind of using a private jet to leave the country. Now, when he was doing all of that, doesn't mean that the military or DSS didn't see him. That's a story for another day. But however, this had really concretized one truth, that INEC were involved in making this election the trash it had become. And something must be done, not just to those who were involved, but to ensure that we pass through the right process to elect our leaders, not in the next election. We can still do something now.